Hello, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure for us that you are joining us in this side event, probably one of the most important side events taking place in this COP, together with the other ones that you also organize it, probably. As you know, this side event will be about realizing circularity for a just transition towards net zero economies in the Mediterranean. The objective of the panel is to raise awareness on circular strategies to reduce emissions and carbon neutral alternatives in key value chains for the Mediterranean economy. Food, construction, and plastics will be the main sectors that will be addressed. And the panelists will also explore crucial cross-border and cross-sectoral partnerships needed to action system changes. But before presenting the panelists, I'm honored to introduce to our coordinator, Tatiana Gema, Ms. Tatiana Gema, coordinator of the United Nations Environment Programme Mediterranean Action Plan. So please, Tatiana, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you, and thank you very much for the invitation. The Mediterranean is facing a triple crisis: pollution, biodiversity loss, and climate change. Those days, during the many side events that we have been organizing with this Mediterranean Pavilion, we have heard a lot of distinguished speakers that explained us in detail how the Mediterranean is a hotspot for climate change and its multiple effects in our region. We are not going to further elaborate on this. In this side event, the intention is to focus on solution, on how to address the root cause of this crisis, in particular the human activities, the way we live, what we produce, and what we consume. At UNEP-MAP Barcelona Convention system, all Mediterranean countries or contracting parties, they've agreed to switch to sustainable consumption and production and circular economy, and this is a must. It has a ripple effect of positive impacts, effectively addressing climate change, protecting and preserving biodiversity, and transitioning to a blue economy. The contracting parties to the Barcelona Convention, they already acknowledge the need to support sustainable consumption production patterns as an essential path to protect marine environment and coastal regions more than 40 years ago. It is very important to mention that we are not starting now to think about this important new paradigm, but it has decided many years ago. Since then, the regulatory framework of the Barcelona Convention has been updated on a regular basis and enriched with the new measures. Allow me to mention some of those measures that are very important if implemented effectively in the new agenda for a new paradigm. The midterm strategy of UNEP-MAP for the period 2022-2027, it has a very clear objective on integrating circular economy in two programs. Programs towards a pollution and litter-free Mediterranean sea and coast, embracing circular economy. And the program 4 of our midterm strategy is towards sustainable use of coastal and marine resources, including circular and blue economy, which has a very strong focus on resource efficiency as well. In the Mediterranean Strategy for Sustainable Development, which integrates also a regional action plan on sustainable consumption and production, it focuses on 4 economic sectors: food and fisheries, housing and construction, tourism and goods manufacturing. Recently, we have upgraded the protocol for the protection of the Mediterranean Sea against pollution from land-based sources in order to better recognize circular economy as a key approach to tackle on the long-term land-based sources of pollution. And it's very interesting, this annex, which shifted from cleaner production to sustainable consumption production, and have several elements that I'm sure will be considered during the global negotiation of the Plastic Pollution Treaty. The Regional Action Plan on Marine Litter that has been adopted in 2013, but substantively revised at the last meeting of the contracting parties in Antalya, Turkey, includes very important elements and measures related to circular economy. And it's not a programmatic action plan, it's a legally binding instrument in the framework of the land-based source of the Barcelona Convention. So we are a step ahead of several regional seas in committing ourselves to legally binding measures to protect marine litter, to protect marine environment against marine litter, but also using circular economy approaches. So it's very important. Now, let me also say 2 words about another kind of investment I mentioned yesterday about REMPEC, the Regional Activity Center that has been established to tackle pollution from the shipping sector. Now, in terms of sustainable consumption and production, circular economy, our contracting parties, and led by Spain as the host country, they have invested a lot in building the Regional Activity Center for Sustainable Consumption and Production in the Mediterranean, which now it is called as MedWaves. So this is very important because it's been created for many years. It was very much, the mandate has been upgraded on a regular basis in order to cope with the new challenges. So it's very important, and then today we have 2 colleagues from this center, 3 colleagues from this center that have been very active and taking also a very important step in making sure that climate change is fully addressed in their daily operation. Now, the MAP Barcelona Convention is a program which is administered by UNEP, a United Nations Environment Program. Has been created almost 50 years ago. It's a very complex, it's based on one of the most advanced regional convention, which is the Barcelona Convention, and it's the only one, and I'm not exaggerating, which includes on binding nature measures related to sustainable consumption and production. So these are very important, but these also put in front of us a huge responsibility of the role and of the task that we need to undertake as the Secretariat of the Barcelona Convention together with the regional activity centers in supporting our contracting parties to comply with these measures. This is very, challenging, but we are all committed, and we wanted very much during this important COP to also show that by doing this work to protect marine and coastal environment from the sustainable consumption production angle, we also contribute in combating climate change. So it's very important. Sustainable consumption production and circular economy are crucial approaches to achieve net zero emission and climate change mitigation. So we believe in this, and this is why that we are joining our efforts in this direction. The implementation is our main important part of the solution in achieving good environmental status of the Mediterranean Sea and coast, and of course benefiting from the climate change perspective. So I thank you very much for your attention, and Enrique, you can take the leadership of the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tatiana, for these really meaningful and supportive words and speech. Now I would like to give the floor to my colleague Magali. Magali Uters is the team leader of the policy area of the center. She has been working for more than probably 15 years in advocating for sustainable consumption and production and circular economy, both in the framework of UNEP MAP and the Barcelona Convention, as well as in the framework of the Stockholm Convention, the other convention for which the center is a regional center. This convention is focused on persistent organic pollutants and is bringing together basically all the countries of the world. Magali is, in that sense, owns a large expertise both in SCP, circular economy, marine litter prevention, as well as toxic chemicals. So, Magali, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Enrique, and welcome everybody to the side event. So this side event is taking place now during the Biodiversity Day of the COP, and tomorrow will be the Solutions Day, and I think it's a perfect fit, because also what we will discuss today, we will see that circular economy is not only an approach that will support to tackle, to reduce greenhouse gases emission, but also it's a key approach to tackle biodiversity loss, and this is a very important issue for the Mediterranean region. Now we are a hotspot for biodiversity. As Mrs. Tatiana Rehman, the coordinator of the UNEP Meta Action Plan, highlighted, if we are facing this crisis, triple crisis of pollution, climate change, and biodiversity, it's because our human activities are absolutely not within the planetary boundaries. No, we are still have really unsustainable patterns of production and consumption, and we still follow a take, make, dispose model now, which heavily rely on fossil fuel. I wanted to give a couple of data that have been produced by both the Circular Economy Foundation but also the Ellen MacArthur Foundation to have an idea on the importance of a circular economy to tackle climate change. So first of all, the circular economy is saying that currently our economy, global economy, is just 10% circular. 90% of the rest of the economy is still linear. So this highlights the huge potential, in terms of closing the loop. And the Ellen MacArthur Foundation is saying also that the energy transition, we only solve half of the climate problem. The other half, so 45% of the rest of the mission, they are associated to the production of products and food. So to the way we consume the cars, the phones, the food that we buy. So it's absolutely key. I think this percentage is very important. We can discuss it if less or more, but I think it's very, very relevant. And it's a strong data that show us now the need to better link climate change and circular economy. Because indeed, so far, what we have seen in the discussion on climate change is that we are focusing a lot on renewable energy, energy efficiency, the energy transition, technological innovation. But there is little link so far with circular economy. And in this COP, we have not seen many events talking about that. So it's an untapped potential, no? And we need, and with the sustainability has a lot of different dimensions, no? And I think it's very important that we need to ensure better policy coherence, no, between different issues, so that they are not tackled isolated in an isolated manner. So working on climate change and circular economy, but we need to link both issues. Now let's remind us a bit what is a circular economy. Now it's based around 3 pillars. So first, the objective is really to eliminate waste and pollution. So we do not want, in an ideal circular economy, we do not want waste, and we want to reduce pollution. So it means also tackling the issue of the huge amount of chemicals that are used in the production processes. We want to circular products and product and material at the highest value in the economy. So this is very important, and we don't want to downgrade this value little by little, because then the matter will be out, no? So we need to address that. And the third pillar, which is very, very important in the context of climate change, is that we want to regenerate nature, no? So to regenerate soil, water, marine system. And this is crucial, and we will see it, I think, when we will talk about the food sector. And this, regenerating nature will be important and will help us to be more resilient. Of course, this this concept of circular economy, when we discuss with people, sometimes it's really assimilated to recycling, no? So we shift quickly to recycling, but circular economy is much more than recycling, and recycling is the least option. So we have many other options before, no? Reducing, reusing, remanufacturing, repurpose. So there are a lot of now that we started with 3, no? Reduce, reuse, recycle. Now there are 10. So there are so many options that we can explore to implement this circular economy. Now the change is not easy, and we need to understand it well also in the different sectors. So that's why we'll explore this change within key sectors for the Mediterranean economy. So we'll have food, construction, and textile. Let me also highlight another sector that is very important for the Mediterranean. It's plastic, because it has huge impact on the marine environment, the plastic pollution. And it's a sectorial sector, no? It's food, is using a lot of plastic, so food packaging, construction as well, but textile. Textile, it might be less obvious, but polyester is the main synthetic fiber used, and it's a polymer. It's plastic as well. So plastic is everywhere, and it has also a hidden cost for the planet. So just to finalize, some key consideration that I wanted to share is that, well, the shift is not easy. As I said, we need to really ensure coherence among policies. Circular economy is not only about technological change, so we really need also to place the human at the center of this change. In order to get we need to involve people in this shift, because it's about changing also the way we live. And the last thing, it's also education is absolutely key, because in many countries, we see that circular economy is not included yet in the university curricula. So we need to have now young people trained on that, so that they will have skill to put this circular economy in motion. But we need also to train professionals in many sectors, because what we have seen in the region is that many people, they are not aware of this concept and approach. So we need to go really on the ground with professional and at the sectorial level, even if the change is global. No? So we cannot work in an isolated manner. We need a systemic change, but we need also to understand well that what does it mean at the sectorial level. So I will stop here and give back the floor to Enrique. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Magali. I mean, it was a very comprehensive and also, I think, kind of brief explanation because of the difficulty of the topic on how, let's say, this transversal role that circular economy plays in the necessary transformation of our economic model. So, thank you very much. Now we will be giving the floor to another high-level panelist, our colleague, Dr. Sergio Ponsa. Sergio is a chemical engineer, PhD in environmental science and technology. He's the director of Beta Technological Center and coordinator of Beta Research Group. He has a deep expertise in the transference of technology and knowledge, since he has been involved more than 50 private R+D+I projects with companies and public administrations. He's also currently leading and participating in several public research and innovation projects, both national and international. And here he will be able to talk to us about fighting climate change by enabling circular food systems. Please, Sergio.
Well, thank you, Enrique. So I have to say that for me it's a big pleasure to be here and to be part of this panel. So thank you very much to MedWaves for the kind invitation. So as you said, I will talk about the nexus between climate change and circular economy, but focus on circular food, on food production systems. Sorry. So I've prepared a presentation. I don't know if it's ready. Okay. Oh, great. So the important point is that we need to be conscient that agri-food production contributes directly to climate change, but on the other side, it is affected directly or suffers directly from its consequences, right? So if we are just looking at the numbers, so agri-food production chain counts for almost 1/3 of global greenhouse emissions, just from the food production sector. We are consuming almost 70% of the fresh water, of the global fresh water in agriculture. And at least in Europe, 50% of all the species are relying upon the agricultural habitats. So that are clear numbers that are reflecting the importance of agri-food production systems and the nexus with climate change. But, the good part of this is that there is just one way. So there is just one direction. And is that our food production systems are sustainable, or they will not be. They will no longer exist, right? So, and in this direction, there are many options and there are many actions that are being implemented. So we all have heard about climate change adaptation of food production systems, climate change mitigation, and here we are today to talk about circular bioeconomy. But before that, I would like to make one step aside, because for me it's important that consider, as Magali said before, that circular economy is part of the solution. But circular economy, without being efficient upstream, it doesn't mean anything. So we need to produce more food consuming less resources, less water, less fertilizers, less energy, then once we are efficient upstream, we can think about how to close the cycle of materials, of energy, and so on, and also contributing to the sustainable consumption, to reduce food waste and all these kind of environmental impacts. So circular economy means that we are trying to transform a problem in different kind of opportunities and sustainable solutions. And it's not just about technologies. So technologies are part of that equation, are one part, but without new value chains or new business models, technologies will not have any kind of impact. That's why it's very important to have a wider view of what circular economy means. Circular economy is not always about technology. In fact, there are sometimes technology is not involved. It's just a new business model that is being implemented, or a new value chain that's being implemented, or a new process, right? But it's not only or new services, in fact. But in any case, circular economy is promoting that. It's promoting the production of new food products with better quality, but not just food. We can also think of other kind of biomaterials, such as bioplastics, enzymes, and so on. The creation of new value chains, new services, and new business models, right? So you all know this figure, so I will not go into detail because I'm sure you have been many times, but what I just would like to say here is that we have two complementary options for closing the materials and energy cycles. So one of them is is to close the cycle in the same value chain, the food production value chain, and the other one is crossing to other value chains. So I mean, we can produce other kind of materials from the food value chains that will impact or will enter other value chains such as pharma, beauty, chemicals, packaging, and so on. And in fact, both solutions needs to be complementary, because yes, is when we are able to give the most added value to all the materials and energy that we are able to recover, right? So we don't need just to focus on recovered materials, nutrients, and water to be used in agriculture. There are much more opportunities rather than closing the cycle of the food production chain. And this is important because then we will be able to develop parallel business models in rural regions that will fix people in the territories. We will have added value jobs, so we'll have different kind of production systems in that territories a part of the food. And as I was asked to put some examples, I just would like to mention some of them. These examples are innovation actions, at least. So that means that we are really close to the market. So it's not research. So this innovation or pre-commercial step. And the important part of these examples is that are not technological, are not focused on technologies, are focused on market acceptance, on business model, on value chain, and being technology a small part of the cake, right? This is Ferti Manure, that is this project that has a specific Mediterranean approach, because we are dealing with the valorization of livestock waste. So we are trying, in this case, to close the nutrient cycle within the food production chain. So we are recovering nutrients such as phosphorus, nitrogen, and potassium, and producing bio-based fertilizers that are used to produce feedstock that is used to feed the livestock, right? So we are in a phase in which we are testing all the business models with the farmers, and this is being implemented in real farms with real farmers operating or trying to operate this kind of plants, right? And the same approach is carried out in the sea to land. That is the same, but instead being in livestock is carried out in aquaculture processes, and again with the practitioners involved. Another example is the project that is called Axel Water. Here we are moving from the housing of livestock to the processing of food, right? Here this is a European project as well that is targeting specifically the Mediterranean countries, so Greece, Italy, and Spain, and in which we have different kind of case studies in which we are considering the zero waste processing systems in beer, dairy, tomato, and meat processing industries. And zero means tackling all the effluents that are getting outside of the processing systems, even water or solid waste, and trying to produce energy and other kind of stuff that is considered a feedstock for other value chains. So here we're increasing that value because we are externalizing some kind of materials and energy. Another approach will be this one, that is the Reflow project, in which we are targeting the dairy processing waste, and here is where we specifically want to cross value chains. Of course, we are able to recover nutrients. It's fantastic, but the main objective is to produce bioplastics, to produce biofuels, to produce a single cell protein, that it means that feed for the livestock, again, directly. So here the challenge is much wider rather than close the cycle within the same food value chain. And then we have other kind of projects, right, that are not considering technologies as a key pillar, but they are considering some kind of organization, staff, or organization challenges within the primary sector. So here we have the Life Waste project that is funded by the InterRegMed program, in which different kind of associations of farmers, they are trying to implement some kind of technologies, but simple technologies to recover nutrients and being able to produce not just livestock or dairy, but also to produce fertilizers that they can sell if they wish. So, and all of this stuff is made by the farmers, right? And this is important. It's led by the farmers and is implemented by the farmers. And another good example that I would like to mention is a project that is called The Cost. It's funded by the ENI CBC Med program. And here we are dealing with the recovery and valorization of food waste to close the carbon cycle in the municipalities. In small and medium municipalities, we are proposing here to have community composting, to have compost, to be used in urban farming, and to produce vegetables in the same municipalities. So we are closing the cycle of carbon in the municipality. And as I told you, this is not a technology. This is a project in which we are working with the local or municipal authorities, with the society of this, with the citizens, because are the ones that are implementing. So this project is implemented by citizens. It's not implemented by university. So, and we have been able to transform the 100% of the solid waste management of municipalities through this system. And it has been quite successful. So citizens are super happy. Policymakers are extremely happy. And we have reduced a lot the cost of solid waste management in that municipalities, right? And finally, these are just some examples. There are a lot of different examples, a lot of them. It's just some of them. But what I would like to mention is that there are a lot of benefits for the agri-food system transformation, a lot of them. It's not just about fighting against climate change, that of course, but there are a lot of social impacts that we need to take into account. But I advanced this before, but when we are applying these kind of approaches, so we are developing new kind of jobs. So we are attracting people to rural territories. We are attracting talent. So we are creating added value jobs. We are improving the infrastructures. We are doing many, many, many things, many impacts in that rural territories that they are lacking of this kind of opportunities, right? So, well, and finally, I would like to finish with this slide, because wherever we would like to do, so we need a real wide approach. So, of course, apart from the academia and universities and research centers that are like providing technologies, that is good, it's fantastic, we need the private sector involved. They need to explain and they need to really accept the different solutions and try to and see how we can implement that solution, because of course if there is not a benefit, I'm sorry, but the solution will not be implemented. Also, the government and policymakers should be involved, because one of the main constraints that innovation is facing is how to overcome the policy barriers. Unfortunately, innovation is advancing so fast, technology is advancing so fast, but on the other side, policies and regulations are not advancing so fast. So there are a lot of inconsistencies between the state of the art of technologies, the technologies or processes that are able to enter in the market, and the policies that are not really promoting that, and even they are just putting some barriers. Civil society is a must to be involved, because if we don't have the social acceptance, the market acceptance, and consumer acceptance, I'm sorry, but anything will succeed, will happen. And finally, of course, you will know that we need to also consider the environment. This is the five helix approach, but I will suggest to include another one, because wherever we would like to happen, if we are not really considering the territories in which we are willing to implement something, some actions, we will not succeed. So the actors that have the feet on the floor and are the ones that are able to implement real things. So at national level, at regional level, and even international level. So we are so far from the ground. So people in the ground, they have different interests. The territories, they have different challenges. They don't have some value chains. They have some collaborations. They have some interest or conflict of interest between the different actors. So it's super important to have this approach considered. And finally, this is just some take-home messages that just to finish. So, well, as I said before, so there is only one way. So transition to sustainable food systems is a must. We don't have any other options. We have a common agreement, a already. So I think that we all agree that this is the path that we have to follow. But we also should consider other opportunities apart of fighting against climate change, opportunities for all. So public administrations, in my opinion, and governments, they have a central role, a key role, but we need the other entities, the other actors to make their part. This is mandatory. And also we need to consider that apart of fighting against climate change, there are a lot of additional impacts, positive impacts for rural societies. For all societies, of course, but specifically for rural regions. And the territorial approach is needed, but inter-regional cooperation is necessary, right? And finally, the very last one, so I would like to say that, of course, it is not easy, but it's not impossible neither. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sergio. It was clear through your intervention, which are, the many opportunities and benefits of implementing circular economy in the food sector, and of course, not only in terms of emission, CO2 emission reduction, but also other environmental challenges, and in addition to that, the both economic and social benefits brought by this, the implementation of this approach. So now I'm pleased to give the floor to another of our panelists, Mr. Ayman El Sueb. Wait a second. Dr. Rifat Unal Sayman, sorry. Dr. Unal Sayman has 20 years of professional experience and knowledge on climate change mitigation and adaptation, specifically focusing on sustainable cities. He has worked on the transition of the European Union environmental acquis to Turkey, including costs and benefit analysis, and he's the chairman of the Regional Environmental Center in Turkey. So, please, Doctor, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I would like to thank you for your invitation, and I would like to thank all of our participants. Today I will speak about construction and building sector, and I will mainly focus on, as a case study, Turkish example. Before starting, I would like to start the main challenges of Turkey, and I will go into deep in these challenges. Still, Turkey's population is increasing. As a result, its building stock is also growing. The cement industry is expanding, and heating and cooling demand, also as part of climate change adaptation, is also raising. And all these are unfortunately negatively impacting the environmental performance of the country. If you look at the latest GHG inventory of the country, in 2020, Turkey emitted 524 million CO2 equivalent. This is quite a big number, we can say. And 70% of this was energy. And the building and construction sector is actually in 4 different parts of these emissions. Not only the buildings, it is 14%, but also part of the electricity we used at the buildings, also at the industrial processes, while producing cement and also steel and also other construction materials. If we compare Turkey with some other European EU member countries, which are also Mediterranean countries, plus Poland, which is a more similar country to Turkey, we can see that Turkey has a different development in comparison. Turkey's population increased 50% in the last 30 years. So every 5 years, on average, the population of the country was extra 5 million, which is like a metropole. So Turkey is constructing a new metropole in every 5 years. So the population is increasing is really like this. And also the GDP increase was also much more rapid. It is increased over 200% during this period. Well, when the population is increasing and also household size are decreasing, Turkey is the #1 in the cement production in all Europe. It has the highest cement production, and the production is all over the country. And most of the cement produced is used within the country to supply cement to the internal demand. When we look at the GHG inventory, it was increased 138% in the last 30 years, and at the same time, the GHG emissions from just from the industrial processes, which is a very hard to abate sector, increased 300 times, so much more rapidly. And just from industrial processes, the cement industry's emissions was close to 10% of Turkey's total population. It was 40 million. When we look at the building sector in more detail, Turkey has 7.6 units of buildings, and 86% of this was residential. This means more than 22 million dwellings Turkey has, and most of them are single family houses, which is 68% of the total. Turkey recently passed a law 10 years ago, and the new buildings are required to have their environmental energy performance certificates, and the new buildings are at least has to be C class, and still majority of the new buildings was constructed in C plus, which are more energy friendly, but our main stock is still almost 80% of the total stock consists of D and E class buildings, so they are not very energy friendly. On top of this, Turkey is one of the most has the most danger resulting from the earthquakes, and Turkish buildings are, unfortunately, the buildings are not suitable or could not resist to a big earthquake. We had an experience, unfortunately, 20 years ago, and it was devastating the country. And currently, Turkey needs to transform at least 6-7 million dwellings, and this is also a big challenge for the country. So what should we do? The country has several steps it should take. One is to increase the electrification in the manufacturing when producing cement or steel, and the country is already on track from this aspect. Currently, Turkey's total renewable energy capacity increased the fossil fuel capacity, and the generation is almost similar. When we look at the electricity generation, still 58% is coming from the fossil fuel, but we have 42% renewable. But at least the capacity is already bigger than the fossil fuel. On the other hand, energy efficiency is a must, not only for Turkey, but also, I think, for all Mediterranean countries. I think, as we know, the cleanest energy is the energy we do not consume. So the energy production is one of the key aspects, and Turkey is trying to align its legislation with the EU since the last 20 years, and there has been big steps on this aspect. And in this year, Turkey also adopted a new bylaw, and which is supporting near zero energy buildings, these buildings will have cheaper credits. And we also have a project with the Ministry of Environment. These are my last two slides. In this project, we were two teams. One team worked on this subject. I was not in it, but I will share their results with you. There have been 3 pillars identified. One is at the macro level, it is the cities. At the meso level, buildings. And in the micro level, it is manufactured components. Turkey developed in total 15, it's finishing. in total 15 objectives to transform its construction and building sector and to make it more environmental friendly and to support the country's climate change goals. The priority is given to two important aspects. One is, as I mentioned, the energy efficiency. I think that is the key for a country like Turkey because it will be difficult to abate the emissions otherwise. And the second is recycling demolition waste. Now the country started a new project which is called circular economy policy project in the country. And with this project, the country is looking for ways to recycle demolition waste and reuse it in the new constructions. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope it was useful.
Great. Thank you very much, Doctor. I mean, thank you again also because it was kind of a brief presentation taking into account the complexity of the sector that you're dealing with. And it's really absolutely amazing and very good that Turkey as a power in the region is, in that sense, doing the best for trying to make this transition to a sector like the construction one, which is, as we know, one of the most important both from the economic and the environmental point of view. So without further delay, I also now would like to introduce briefly Dr. Rifat Unal Saiman. Now, yes. Again, the same. So no, probably I will introduce Mr. Ayman El Sahabri, Regional Coordinator of SwitchMed for UNIDO, overseeing the activities in Egypt and Jordan. He's involved in technical assistance, capacity building, and policy support towards green, resource-efficient, and circular industrial models, as well as the development and promotion of UNIDO's transfer of environmental sound technology, the TEST, very famous TEST approach, a holistic approach for resource efficiency. He will be introducing to us the climate cost of fashion, how to reduce the implementation of circular economy strategies in the textile sector. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for this session to have me among the distinguished speakers. Well, in UNIDO, we have been working on the textile sector for some time to promote for the circularity in the sector. And this was achieved in the previous phases of the SwitchMed project through the resource efficiency of production, so that we can tackle the issue that was mentioned by Magali to reduce the waste generation in the production processes. And in the current phase, we are tackling the circular economy perspectives in the textiles value chain. So before we go into the details of the circular economy, let me just give you a quick overview on why we are tackling the circular economy in textile. So I used two slides, and sorry if they are slightly small. So the textile and garments are used by everyone, everywhere, all the time. Almost 24 hours we need the textile and garment. And over the past 15 years, from the year 2000 up to 2015, which was the past 20 years actually, the production of textile products increased by almost double. And that meant that we consumed more resources to extract more cotton, more petroleum products to produce the PET or the plastic. And this increase in the production is associated also with a decrease from the consumer behavior to maintain the clothes. So the fast fashion and the quick change in the fashions is decreasing the lifetime of the textile in our closets. And at the end of the day, we are producing in the linear model. So the garments are sent to landfills and are disposed of, burnt very quickly, and this is putting a lot of pressure on the natural resources. Throughout the production process of the textile and garment, the process is considered one of the highest polluting processes. It's ranked second or third water stressful industrial process. We need the hot water for the plantation of the cotton. We need the water for the plantation and the hot water for the dyeing processes. So water is an issue. Pollutants coming out of the production process from the chemicals used and from the microfibers and micro plastics within the dyeing process or after using and washing it in the washing machine. So it's a really problematic domain and sector. And this is why we started to look into the circularity in the textile value chain. And from our analysis, we came to some 4 main drivers that will support on the transition towards circularity in the textile value chain. The first of all comes the consumer. If the consumer is ready to accept product from recycled material, a second-hand or second refurbished product, so the consumer behavior, or even if they don't accept it, they simply don't go for the fast fashion and they don't change their clothes every now and then. So this is a main driver for the circularity. The second driver relates to the industry itself and the brands. Are they having circular models for the design of the products so that the products can be repurposed or reused again? Or if the companies and brands are going into more sustainable sourcing of material, more circular or more recycled content in the fabrics used or not, then comes the regulatory framework. Without regulations and directions set by the governments to support the transition, it will not happen on the ground. And here I made some examples on the European Green Deal, Extended Producer Responsibility and Circular Economy Action Plan. And finally, the technological development. What are the technologies available so that we can reuse and remanufacture the textile waste? So I will jump quickly to a case study from Egypt where we are doing the circular models. Egypt is known to have a large textile industry with more than 6,000 companies operational, contributing to the GDP, 3% of the GDP of the country from the textile and garment industry, a vertical integrated industry. But nevertheless, we started by a mapping study to understand the waste generated within the textile industry from post-industrial pre-consumer waste, and we came to a conclusion that there are around 212,000 tons generated annually within the country from textile waste in industrial applications. And this is a huge quantity that can be valorized into circular models. On the other side, some challenges that were faced, that there are few players in the country who are doing the recycling of yarns, but to a low extent with very limited quantities. And those players or those industrial companies, they are in fact importing the textile waste from abroad. So we have the resource in the country, but they are going to buy it from abroad because they don't trust in the quality of the waste in Egypt, since we don't have proper segregation, collection, and logistic handling of the waste in the manufacturing process. So we identified 2 pilot projects, 2 pilot actions. The first is to train the companies on how to do the proper segregation, proper separation of waste, so that we can build a local value chain to collect the textile waste directed to the existing players or any other players, and thus closing the loop within the country. And this is one model that we are trying to promote within the SwitchMed project. The other model relates to technology, and there we will have some chemical recycling feasibility option so that we can do an advanced recycling for textile waste. With that chemical and recycling process, we are maintaining the value of the recycled, so that we don't degrade the waste or the textile waste while doing the mechanical recycling process. So as a value added to the companies who are benefiting from these projects, they will be able to valorize their waste. They will have an opportunity to establish interlinks between the different players in the country so that new business models can be created. New job opportunities will be created for those who will work on the collection, transportation, and direction of the waste. And we will have better traceability for the waste of textile. On the government level, from the other side, we will have good business opportunities and good investment opportunities in an advanced recycling facility. So this is, I think, the last slide. So I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much to you, Mr. Thoreau. Thank you very much to all the speakers to be within the the timing that was agreed. So now we'd like to finally to give the floor to another colleague of us. He will be, in that sense, making final remarks from Barcelona because his intervention will be virtual. He's Mr. Arnau Queralt. Arnau has been director since 2011 of the Advisory Council for the Stable Development of Catalonia, and also he's chair of the EEAC, European Environment and Sustainable Development Advisory Councils Network. So please, Arnau, the floor is yours.
So thank you, and good afternoon from Barcelona, in the north shore of the Mediterranean. This fantastic sea that is a bridge, should be a bridge between us. So thank you for inviting me to give this very short remarks at the end. I'm going to be very brief because time is scarce resource. So, but some point, circular economy at this moment of story, the history at this moment is not an option, as you know. It is the option. So, economy needs to be circular, yes or yes. And this is not only for environmental issues, not for climatic reasons, but also not only, but also for the competitiveness of the economy. And as a former member of our council told us in the past, some years ago, when this concept just started, we were still in the green economy concept, not in the circular economy concept, because concepts are evolving. What he told us is that there will be, in this path, in this race to circularity, there will be no winners. There will be, and there will be any possibility of having a win-win strategy. There will be winners and there will be losers. So we need to make sure that our societies and our economies go for circular, and this is crucial. Society, I'm muted.
Okay,
no.
and now, for a moment we lose you, but it was just a few seconds. Allunya't una mica del
It
micro.
was the most important point. No,
So,
it's a joke.
So, repeat it, right away.
No, the point is the Mediterranean societies, the people of Mediterranean should be, let's say, the advanced students on circularity. I mean, we have been resilient to climate change from the beginning of our history. So why not? And we also had the idea, the knowledge that our resources were scarce in the past. So why not? We can be now the leaders to this transition, which is it's a transition that, as it has been said, is not only technological. It's true, but it's also about society. Let's say consumers. It's also about, it's a transmission about training, how we train professionals that are ready to enter into the circular economy, into this loop. It is also a matter of having institutional frameworks and legal and economic tools that promote circular economy, we need small and local transitions to circular economy. This is absolutely true. It is absolutely true. But it is also absolutely true that we need great transitions. I mean, there need to be different waves, different dynamics, but we cannot only start or work with small and local changes, which are also necessary. But we need, let's say, disruptive, large-scale transitions. This is why we need policies, we need legal instruments, we need economic instruments that boost circular economy. We need to think strategically in terms of circular economy. As Magali said, recycling is the last step circular economy. We need to use eco-design, and we need to implement eco-innovation approaches in order to reduce the consumption of resources. This means materials, energy, and water. But we need also to use eco-design in order to produce products and services that can be circular. And this is important. So time is just ending to, I think that I need to close, but we need, as I said, innovation, we need government at all scales, we need companies, we need professionals, we need startups, we need, let's say, yeah, professionals, students, consumers, we need everyone in the loop. We need having everyone convinced that we need to move towards a circular model, and there is no option. I mean, our future can be, let's say, positive if we take now this kind of decisions. And finally, a last remark on for me, a very interesting instrument, which has been the SwitchMed program that was launched in 2013, and it is a fantastic initiative benefiting 8 Mediterranean countries in order to support and connect stakeholders to scale up social innovations and circular economy. So good luck, thank you, and good job here in the COP27 for Pavilion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arnaud, for these encouraging and inspiring words. So now, without further delay, in order to close the event, because unfortunately we are running out of time, I'm honored to introduce to you Mr. Ali Abusema, CEO of the Egyptian Environmental Affairs Agency. Thank you, please.
Thank you very much, Enrique. Indeed, it's my pleasure to be with you today, and with my old friend Enrique, and it reminds me with my journey to work with the cleaner production and circular economy and resource efficiency. So I'm here in my capacity as the CEO of the Egyptian Environmental Affairs Agency and Minister Assistant for the international projects. I'm happy to be with you today, and I'm happy just to welcome all of you to our COP27. It is it's a very important to refer that what you are doing is very crucial to work with the implementation of the climate action. So when we speak about circularity, when we speak about cleaner production, when we speak about resource efficiency, we are adaptive. We try to be more adaptive. We have to work with the pushing the adaptation project and also with the mitigation project. So what you are doing is exactly very important to achieve with our ambitions. Our ambitions now to go for global goal for adaptation, our ambitions to increase our resilience to the climate change. So your journey starting from pollution prevention to cleaner production to resource efficiency to circular economy to green economy, it's indeed very crucial. So I would like to thank everyone here, and a message from COP27, which I feel now today we have 50,000 participants physical in this very big event. It's a very important that we are also on political level put on the agenda for the first time, loss and damage. It is now in the agenda. It's a success to all of us to work, and it's a push for us to work more how to deal friendly with our environment, how to do the go with the recircularity, recycling our circularity and resource efficiency and green economy. This is a key issue to move forward to achieve all our targets. This is why we are here putting this slogan together for implementation. Without you, without your effort working on this, pushing this agenda, they will never ever to achieve our target for helping our land, our earth to be really sustainable and available for all of us. So once again, I'm happy to be with you, encouraging you to continue the journey. I'm pushing that your role, your achievement you are doing critical and very important for our action of climate change. Thank you again and welcome to you.
So that's all, folks. Sorry we don't have time to questions because we're running out of time, but of course you are here, our panelists. Of course we will be at your disposal to talk outside. So thank you very much for joining us. Bye and luck.